Alright, so in this video we'll go over some of the main Giants cuts and surprise players that made the team. So of course the roster was finalized today at around 4 p.m. I think on this Saturday afternoon. So there were some surprises for sure. Obviously the headliners, Ryan Connelly, the second-year linebacker, former fourth round. I think he was a fourth rounder. I want to look it up real quick because I feel like I'm wrong, but I think he was a fourth round pick. Very surprising one for sure. I don't think really I saw anyone predict that one. Things were a bit sketchy about him because he was a fifth round pick. But things were a bit sketchy around him because there wasn't really any positive talk about him in camp. Some beat writers were like, oh, he doesn't really look right, doesn't look completely healthy, but I don't think anyone translated that to he's not going to make the team. So when we saw Ryan Connelly was cut about a half hour ago, it was like, whoa, I didn't really see that one coming. So definitely a surprise to me. My opinion on it is I'm all right with it. Like Ryan Connelly, I don't think was ever going to amount to anything more than a good depth option and, better than a linebacker too. I don't think Ryan Connelly was ever going to be the guy on the inside. I think he would have been a nice little sidekick for Blake Martinez. He would have been a nice player off the bench potentially, a special teams guy to make some tackles, but outside of that, I never really saw Connelly as a star. I just thought he was a pretty good linebacker number 2. But unfortunately, I guess he's not completely healthy. I hope he lands on his feet elsewhere. And that's good news for my boy Tay Crowder that we'll go over later. But I'm not too mad at it. The Giants, obviously, they want to play faster on defense. And now Devontae Downs, who obviously is a faster player, and Tay Crowder as well, now they make the team instead. I want to make sure Devontae Downs made the team. I'm like 99% sure, but I just want to be sure because that would sound terrible if he didn't make it. Yes, he did. All right, so I just want to be ssure. So Devontae Downs, Tay Crowder make it over Connelly at linebacker. Even TJ Brunson make it. That was a surprise as well. We'll get to that later. I'm getting ahead of myself here. They decided to go with 2 quarterbacks. I don't think many people had that one. I expected 3, especially this season, because things can change week to week, honestly, even day to day at this point. If someone, one of the quarterbacks gets COVID on a Friday or a Saturday, you kind of need another quarterback to fit in. But I think they'll probably try and get Cooper Rush back on the practice squad if possible. I think Alex Tanney's time as a Giant is probably done, so Rush and Tanney are both gone. In my prediction video, I had them keeping Rush. I didn't want them to keep Tanney. They didn't keep him. He was like the first one gone. And then I think we found out a little while later that Rush was gone as well. So a little surprising, but it makes sense. I mean, you're not going to use 3 quarterbacks in one game unless things go terribly wrong. So I'm all right with it. For wide receivers, Ben Victor, the big guy from Ohio State, he's like 6'5", 200 pounds. He's out. And another guy I really liked in Austin Mack, he's out as well, so that was a bit disappointing for me. I thought Mack could have been not a special player, but a decent wide receiver number 4 or so for this team. But unfortunately, he's gone. This one wasn't too much of a surprise, but Grant Haley's gone. He's been here the past couple of years, got a lot of starting snaps last year, especially the first half of the year. As we all know, good tackler, doesn't cover too well, didn't really have any upside on the outside. He was mainly a slot guy and didn't do too well at his job, so I'll put it that way. So he's gone. And John Halapio was another one, a guy they brought in a few weeks ago, even a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Now he's gone. They stick with Spencer Pulley, which might be a surprise to some people. Cornerback Chris Williamson, it didn't really surprise me. I was never really a big fan of this guy, but I think some people expected him to maybe be a contributor at the outside corner position. And then defensive tackle Daylon Mack is a guy I had making the team. They decided to keep R.J. McIntosh and Austin Johnson, I believe. So good for those guys. I still think Mack's talented. Unfortunately, the Giants are not a good team to come to if you want to make it as a defensive lineman because the Giants have an abundance of them. So surprise makes for this team. T.J. Brunson, I talked about him as being the 1980 style linebacker. I think he'd be a fine special teamer. I don't think he'll ever be a good starter, but as a special teamer, he'll be fine. So I was a little surprised he made it. You could say surprise, Tay Crowder. I wasn't surprised by it. I like this guy a lot, but for being a Mr. Irrelevant pick and making the team, doesn't happen every year. So I'm happy for Tay. I think he has legit upside to be a starter one day. The only thing standing in his way really is Devontae Downs, and if he doesn't play up to what the Giants expect, then maybe Tay Crowder's a starter by some point in the year, and I would be thrilled about that because I think he has legitimate upside, and I'm very surprised he lasted that long in the draft, but good for the Giants for getting him. Center Spencer Pulley was definitely a guy that we expected to be cut. I think most people expected that. It made the most sense financially. The Giants could have saved themselves a few $1 million there. They decided not to do it. Pulley is a guy, I guess, that can play all three interior offensive line positions. I wasn't too big of a fan of the way he played in that one game last year, but maybe he improved a bit. I don't know. And then I also had Carter Coughlin. I think most people expected him to make it. I was on the fence about it, I'll put it that way. As I've said, I'm not the biggest believer in Coughlin being a game-changing defender one day. I do think he can be a pretty good special teamer. Joe Judge talks about, who's ever blocking him, they're definitely in for a ride. He gives maximum effort. We know that. So Coughlin will be a good special teamer, a good guy to keep around. Maybe him and like Nate Ebner can be a really good special teams duo for a while. But yeah, I mean, this is it's pretty much it. There's really nothing else that was too surprising. I'll go down the list of who made it one more time to see if like anything was crazy here. So quarterbacks, nothing. Garrett Dickerson was cut at tight end, not really too surprising. Cam Brown makes it, good to see. The 5th round rookie. David Mayo, of course, makes it. He might not be there the first couple weeks, but he still made it. Chad Slade at offensive line made it. BJ Hill, there was some question if he'd make it. I figured he would, but yeah, he's there. Eli Penny, I guess there were some questions if Garrett wanted to carry a fullback. I figured he would. CJ Board is actually one I forgot to put on here. CJ Board makes it. I forget. CJ Board's a bigger guy. I think he's like 6'4", 6'3". I forget, honestly. But apparently he was pretty impressive in practice at some points. He's 6'2", 174. Wow, former Brown. So I'm not sure what to expect from him, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll see if he gets actual playing time. But I expect him to be the 5th guy, of course, behind the big three of the Giants and Slayton, Tate, and Shepard. And then, of course, I have Corey Coleman in front of him. And defensive backs, Corey Ballantyne, James Bradbury, Sean Chandler. All right, Sean Chandler made it. I'm happy for him. I like Sean Chandler. Didn't realize that one. Isaac Yiadom, he made it. So that's, I guess, kind of surprising. Not really surprising, but I don't know. He was on the team for a week. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty satisfied with what they did today. I'm sure some people will not be happy about Connelly. I think people overrated him a bit, but I was one of those people that tempered expectations. I thought he'd be a nice number 2 option. Never expect him to be like a legit 10-year starter type of linebacker, but it's unfortunate. I don't think the guy was healthy and really got a fair chance this year, but it is what it is. Maybe he'll land on his feet elsewhere. So that'll do it for this video. Hopefully the Giants find a way to get, I'm blanking on his name now, but the guy that went to Iowa State, Hakeem Butler, the 6'5" receiver. I hope there's a way the Giants somehow can get him. He would be a nice fit for this offense, honestly, but we'll see. The Giants have 5 receivers. I mean, maybe they're saving a spot for him. I'm not really sure, but he was cut by the Cardinals yesterday. The Cardinals have a very stacked depth chart for wide receivers. So, I mean, the first argument is people are like, oh, well, the Cardinals got rid of him for a reason. Well, the Cardinals are pretty stacked at wide receivers. So maybe they just didn't have room for the guy. So Hakeem Butler might be, one man's treasure, basically. And we'll have to see if the Giants take a chance on that. But I think especially with them cutting Ben Victor, their big guy, I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm not one of those people that just says, oh, go get every free agent out there. I think this one actually makes a lot of sense. And Hakeem Butler, let me look up real quick. He's got to be like 23 years old or something. He cannot be that old, but he is 24. Okay, 24 years old, 6'5", 227. His college stats, I think, were unbelievable. At least his senior year. I think his junior and senior year, he was really good. Let's see. So for Iowa State, in his senior year, or junior year technically, but junior year, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 60 receptions, and then his sophomore year, he had 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, 41 catches. So honestly, if you watch his tape and highlights, some pretty impressive stuff on there. I think he'd fit in here. Hopefully the Giants take a chance on it, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that'll do. Satisfied with the cuts and who you're disappointed with and things like that. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you next time.